Okay, we've all seen those headlines, right? The lottery jackpot just keeps climbing and climbing into some absolutely mind-boggling number. You grab a ticket, you start to dream, but that billion-dollar fantasy, well, that's just the start of a pretty fascinating journey. So let's actually follow the money and see where it really ends up. I mean, just look at that number, $1.8 billion. This was the second biggest Powerball jackpot in U.S. history. Honestly, it's a figure so massive, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around. Because here's the thing, that billion-dollar dream runs smack into financial reality, and it happens fast. The number you see on the news is absolutely not the number that's going to hit your bank account. So let's break it down.
Now, this specific prize was a truly historic one. The only one bigger was a massive $2.04 billion jackpot a couple of years back. I mean, this is the kind of money that gets the entire country talking and dreaming.
And before we dive into the winner's journey, let's just take a second to remember how incredibly unlikely this whole thing is. You know, with odds of 1 in 292 million, it's a true lightning strike. But someone does win. And the second they do, they face their first really big decision. And that brings us to the winner's first huge choice. The moment you win, you have to decide how you want your money, and believe me, that decision changes everything right from the get-go. So here's the trade-off. On one hand, you can take the annuity. That gets you the full $1.8 billion, but it's paid out over 30 years. On the other hand, you can take a single lump sum of cash right now. But look at that difference. The cash option is less than half the advertised prize, coming in at about $826.4 million. So, for the rest of this little journey, let's just assume our winner takes the cash.
So, you've picked the cash option. Fantastic. But before you can even think about celebrating, the government steps in for its first cut. And this happens automatically.
All right, here's our starting point again, $826.4 million. It's a massive pile of money, but just watch what happens next.
So for any prize this big, the IRS requires an immediate 24% federal withholding. Now, it is really important to understand this isn't your final tax bill. Think of it more like a mandatory down payment on all the taxes you're going to owe later on.
And what does that 24% look like in real dollars? Well, it's nearly $200 million. Just poof, gone, right off the top before you've even made a single plan for the money.
And just like that, your $826 million prize is now down to about $628 million. That is a huge drop. And unfortunately for our winner, the tax man is not done yet, not even close.
Yep, that 24%, that was just the appetizer. When it actually comes time to file your taxes for the year, well, let's just say you're going to owe a lot more. And here's the key. Winning hundreds of millions of dollars instantly, and I mean instantly, pushes you into the highest possible federal income tax bracket in the entire United States. So let's break this down. Your total federal tax rate is going to be 37%. You've already paid that 24% up front, remember? That means you still owe the difference, another 13%. And 13% of a prize this big, well, that's still tens and tens of millions of dollars more that you have to write a check for.
Okay, so after the federal government takes its 2 big bites of the apple, there's one last major factor to consider, and that is where you live.
This part is a real wild card. If you're lucky enough to buy your winning ticket in a state with no income tax, you're golden. But if you bought it in a state with a high income tax rate, you could lose another 10 or even more of your winnings. That final take-home number is completely at the mercy of geography. So when you put it all together, that incredible $1.8 billion headline is really just the starting line. After you choose the lump sum and you pay both your federal and your state taxes, the amount you actually get to keep could be less than 1/3 of that giant number you first saw on the billboard. It's kind of crazy. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a life-shattering amount of money, of course. But this journey, from the dream to the reality, it really makes you think, is the real prize the money itself, or is it just the permission to dream for a day about what in the world you do with $1 billion?